What's happening, all you dudes and dudettes? This is Dudes Talking Freedom back at you once again. We're here with our new series, Namesakes and Monuments. This is Luke.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we want to thank you for joining us on the Dudes Talking Freedom podcast. We're brought to you by Warriors for Freedom, a nonprofit that creates pathways to engage service members, to help veterans and their families prevent suicide, foster camaraderie, and help them live their best lives. Check them out at warriorsforfreedom.org. All right, folks. We're talking liberty enlightening the world. That's Lady Liberty, or by her most widely recognized name, the Statue of Liberty. So let's get into it, shall we?
Let's get into it. Been looking forward to this new series for a while. We've been talking about it, and we've had some of our regular listeners and fans suggest to us that it'd be cool for us to talk about some history.
Yeah.
Some history, some world history, some American history, U.S. history. And we figured what better way to kick off a new series than, about history than starting with one of the probably arguably the most recognizable monument in U.S. history.
Right.
The Statue of Liberty.
Right, and cancel culture is always trying
it's
to
a matter of time before
change
it's gone.
it. They're going to rip it down,
probably
blow it up.
Yeah,
but
it's probably racist.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. But everybody talks about being the tip of the spear or whatever. Well, this time we're going to be the boomerang, right? And we're going to boomerang back on this cancel culture, and we're going to give it to you straight on the namesakes and the monuments, so that people know a little bit of history about what they're destroying before they blow it up.
I love it. I love it.
We hope you love it too.
The fans love it too.
I mean, that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
We're here for the fans.
We are. So, look, the Statue of Liberty is, I would say, easily one of the most recognizable structures probably in the world. Definitely in the United States, originally called a New Colossus, and that comes from what, a poem?
Yeah, the New Colossus poem.
That's what it was called when it was built.
By Emma Lazarus, and that she was an American poet, wrote it in 1883, and there was a pretty good fundraising campaign going on because nobody knew who was going to put the bill for the platform, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah, so the French were like, we got the statue taken care of. We will ship it to you,
But you got to build the platform for it.
You got to build the platform.
Yeah.
So she was just one of the persons that donated her artistic work and poetry to help raise funds for it. But
it was a gift from the people of France to the people of the United States with a stipulation that the U.S. pays for the pedestal to put it on. And the fundraising for the pedestal proved to be problematic. And there was a lot of political and economic kind of turmoil that actually threatened the project at different stages between its initial conception and its completion, which I think took it was a 16, 17 year kind of from when it was originally conceived to when it actually got completed, I believe.
Right. It took quite a while, and that's if you count Bartholomew's very first pitch, right? Not Bartholomew. What's his name? Bartoli. His first pitch. But let's go back to that Emma Lazarus. This is the New Colossus, just so you know. The poem that she wrote. It's not very long. I'll read it to you.
This is on a plaque on the pedestal, correct?
It's actually on the pedestal, yeah. So it says, not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome, her mild eyes command. The air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame, keep ancient lands your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest toast to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Which, like, what a great poem. You know, I mean, it really is. I mean, I don't know if you're like a huge poetry fan.
I'm not,
but even if you aren't, I think you can appreciate
cool.
that one, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people know the "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses" portion of that poem, but not the entire thing.
Right.
Right. That's.
So we want you to commit that to memory, guys, and tweet it.
Yeah.
Can you fit that in a tweet?
I don't know.
Is that even tweetable? Did she even consider that when she wrote it?
I don't know. Probably didn't. It's probably too many characters.
Definitely.
But she could make a thread.
Yeah, she could definitely. She could thread it together. She'd have no problem in the Elon Musk era of Twitter. She could probably get that in there for no problem.
Yeah. So it was conceived by sculptor Frederick Bartholdi.
Frederick Auguste Bartholdi.
And apparently, so there's a lot of...
Actually, I believe Edouard de Laboulaye came up with the idea, and then Frederick Auguste Bartholdi designed it. So he was like, hey, I got this great idea, Bartholdi, Frederick, or whatever he called him. Hey, Frederick.
Like, let's make a statue.
Yeah, let's smoke some cigarettes and talk about statues. I don't know what.
Eat a crepe.
Yeah, let's eat a crepe.
Or a croissant.
Yeah, croissant. But they originally pitched it because the Suez Canal had just been finished. Mm-hmm. And you used to have to travel around the Horn of Africa in order to get anything through around Africa, right? You had to go around it. And they're like, hey, I got an idea. Let's just send this linebacker straight through the gap. Let's shoot the gap. They bust through all this landmass, and the kind of like the start of the Suez Canals is pretty much Port Said in Egypt, right? So they wanted to put this huge, large-scale public monument right there at the start of the Suez Canal. And the original statue was titled, I don't know if you remember the Liberty and Lighting the World title, but it's a lot like that. And the prototype for the statue for Port Said was Egypt carrying the light to Asia. Mm. So that's how they figured that all out.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
That statue, the Egypt carrying the light to Asia, was on the statue was going to stand 86 feet high, and its pedestal was 48 feet high, or 15 meters. And the statue itself, well, it was based off a 33-meter tall statue of the Greek god Helios, basically.
33 meters, huh?
Yeah, 33 meters.
Very interesting.
Which everybody knows the 33. I mean, that's the year Jesus died, right? He was 33 years old.
Yeah.
It's a lot of different 33s.
The 33rd degree Freemason rabbit hole, I guess you could call it. But I will say there are Freemason ties to the build. Bartholdi himself was a Freemason, as was Gustav Eiffel of Eiffel Tower fame, who designed the interior structural framework of the Statue of Liberty.
Right.
Whereas Bartholdi was the French sculptor who designed the exterior of the statue.
Right.
But yeah, we can get into some of the Freemason ties to Statue of Liberty in a little bit. But originally, Americans didn't really want the Statue of Liberty because of the cost associated with it, because they were saying, hey, you guys need to foot the bill for the pedestal, because we'll build it, we'll gift it to you, but you gotta build something to put it on.
Right. And I just love, going back to the Egyptian thing, right? Like, it was like this smaller statue, and it was going to be Egypt carrying the light to Asia, right? Like, so I think they went back and they're like, man, when they got rejected because they ended up putting in a lighthouse, right? At Port Said instead. They're like, nah, we'll just go with the lighthouse. And they're like, God, man, we did all this big pitch to the Egyptians and they didn't love it, and we thought they thought they were going to love it, right? So they go back and they rework. They talk to their marketing team, right? You know, like I don't know, Mad Men, right? It gets all Mad Men back there, marketing team, right? And they go pitch the Americans, right? And they come up with liberty enlightening the world. So I mean, like, this is as big as it can get. Like, you know, forget about just Asia. You know, let's light the whole world. This will tell them, you know, like, how can we really upsize this thing?
Yeah.
So they did that. And then, of course, they made her huge, right? Like, she's 305 feet tall.
And 1 inch.
And 1 inch? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she weighs 449,743 pounds.
That's a big girl.
She's hefty. And I don't know, just because, you know, I started thinking height and weight, and what do you do with height and weight? But you figure out the body mass index, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I got to figure out the body mass index of the Statue of Liberty. So a healthy BMI, if you didn't know, is between 18.5.
She's not healthy.
And 24.9. I mean, that's what I thought. I was like, no way is she a healthy woman. I mean, she's healthy, but
Well, she's built like a fucking brick shit house.
Yeah, something like that. A steel and copper brick house, actually, right?
Yeah.
Like, but she is a fit 23.6 BMI.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was shocked
Impressive.
to hear that. So you basically take the pounds, multiply it by 703,
whatever,
and you divide it
is.
by the inches in height twice. Is how you figure out that.
Yeah, BMI is a bunch of bullshit anyway, but yeah.
I mean, it totally is, but like, this is my only metric to see, like, is her weight, is she got her weight under control? You know, at least just a little bit, you know? I mean, is she like a 30?
I mean, she looks pretty fit, you know, with all the baggy clothes. I'm sure she's like slender underneath that.
Yeah.
All that
The
nonsense.
ragged clothing. Yeah,
The
she
chains
has.
probably weighed her down a little bit too.
I did hear,
Crown.
and if you look at the Statue of Liberty, and I really like your t-shirt, by the way.
Yeah, this is a Lions Not Sheep. This is an old t-shirt, but I love that she's holding an AR-15 for all of you Second Amendment haters out there.
Yeah.
Suck it.
I wonder how many of those we have listening. Zero?
Yeah, I'm guessing. I mean, maybe a few, but
But I don't know. My point is that I don't know if you can tell in that shirt, but I heard that her head was 2 foot off center.
oh, is that right?
Yeah, they placed her head in the wrong position.
No way.
Yeah.
And is it still like that? Did they fix it?
Yeah,
Or
it is like
so
that.
it's off.
And
Really?
I don't know if you're one of these people that can look at stuff and
I
see like
am.
it's just slightly off.
I've never noticed though.
But look at it now, because I looked at it knowing that, and I was like, well, damn.
oh, really? Yeah.
That is off a little bit.
I'm gonna
That
have to
is.
check that out.
Yeah, look at it. Look at the pictures.
No, that's wild.
But right, France gave it to us in 1886. They displayed the head of the statue at the World's Fair in 1878.
the World's Fair. We should do a whole series on the World's Fairs, dude, at some point.
So many things.
Illumination and like electroculture and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, it's built, the pedestal is built on an old fort called Fort Wood, I want to say. And it is a 11-sided star fort. And if you haven't looked up star forts,
That sounds like aliens.
it kind of reminds me of aliens. Like if you don't know what star forts and star structures are, these things are all over the world. They have been built throughout history, and the theory is that they have been designed to suck energy out of the atmosphere and provide free energy. Nikola Tesla was onto something, which is probably why they, I don't know, they shunned him, for lack of a better word, because, who wants to give free energy to the people when you can charge for the electricity, right?
Yeah, the irony is it's killing me. Liberty enlightening the world, but that's exactly what they're trying to prevent, enlightenment, huh?
Yeah, and then I also saw something in my research on the Statue of Liberty is, being 305 feet tall and 1 inch, from base to the top of the torch.
From base to tip.
300 feet is the minimum for an antenna to pull electricity out of the atmosphere.
Ooh.
And there's a theory that it was really designed to draw electricity in and then pump it over to Battery Park, which is where Battery Park got the name, because Battery Park was the battery that was supplying the area with electricity. And these are all just kind of like rabbit hole theories that I've stumbled upon during my dig.
Well, I did hear, interesting that you bring up the electricity part, but I heard that it has been struck by lightning like 600 times.
Oh man, I can't imagine how many times. That sounds like a low number, actually.
Yeah. By most estimates, the copper statue has been hit by 600 bolts of lightning every year.
Oh, annually?
Since it was assembled in New York Harbor.
That sounds a little like
dang, though.
Yearly. 600
times every year.
So what's that? That's probably, I mean, how many years? 100 plus?
This
140
dude,
years?
yeah, well,
almost 140 years.
1886, 14 plus 23, 37, 130. It'll be 137 this October, I believe.
600. So we're talking like,
because I wrote it down,
7,842. Did I do that math right? Lightning strikes.
137 times 600.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's 7,842. Did I do that right?
I'll tell you right now.
I could be wrong.
82,200 hits.
82,000. Holy crap.
Yeah, that's a lot of electricity.
Way off.
But think about it. Like, I don't know how many houses you've seen burned down, by getting hit by lightning. But you
couple
see
here in Texas I've seen on Facebook.
Up here in North Texas, you see it quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And I wonder, how many houses would burn down if we had a 300-foot structure hanging out up here. Like maybe we need big techs. A 300-foot big techs. You know who Big Tex is?
Yeah, the guy
at the State Fair, Texas, Fair? Right? Yeah, like maybe we need like a big Tex up here in North Texas. Like
to draw the lightning too.
Yeah, or something.
Well, the spire on top of the new World Trade Center gets struck by lightning a lot. I was up in that building, and like during a storm, not only can you actually see the clouds come by, like if you're up in like the 80th, something floor, 70th, 80th floor,
up in the atmosphere,
you can see the clouds like quite literally just slowly just blow by the windows, and then like crazy. You can see the electricity in the clouds when it's
really?
Yeah, because it just if you're up high enough, I mean, like some of those clouds carry electricity even at the lower levels, but like the lightning strikes that come from up above, they'll just zap that spire, and the whole building just kind of lights up on the outside. It's kind of wild.
That's wild.
Yeah,
I kind of experienced some on top of Pikes Peak.
Mm.
Yeah, that was a little scarier.
I bet.
Given that we were in open air.
I was going to say, like you're not inside a building protected.
But like we had a storm coming over across the top, and lightning hit the top, and we could feel electricity going through our bodies. It didn't like hit us or anything, but it hit the top of the mountain. And we were like, you know what? It's time to go down. Yeah. Finish your donuts. Let's go down.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it was Fort Wood on Liberty Island, which was originally called Bedloes Island. It was constructed between 1807 and 1811, and it was in the shape of an 11-sided star. So the official narrative is that it was constructed in the early 1800s, and the pedestal of the statue was constructed within the old fort. The fort itself housed army families from 1811 into the 1930s. And also, interestingly enough, the Bedloes Island was originally used for capital punishment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, let's see. They would execute prisoners on that island.
Wow.
Back in the day. Yeah.
What a great rebranding.
Yeah.
This is just a rebranding. This is a rebranding story.
Yeah.
Egypt to Bedloes Island, Bedloe Island, which they changed the name officially in 1956. Actually, it took them quite a while to change that name.
It was Bedloes Island, LOE. But New York City used the island as a place for quarantine for yellow fever and smallpox at one point as well. So a lot of history on the island itself before the statue was even conceived.
Yeah. So I'd hear that these islands that they'd quarantine people to around the world, because it wasn't a unique thing, right? Like, let's put them on that island, like get the hell out of here.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Like leper colonies, smallpox, all this stuff, like ship them off to the island. And they don't dock to the island. They take a piece of wood and they throw it out in the boat and they shove you out into the water and say, float over that island, bro, because I'm not touching that island.
Yeah, and I'm not touching you.
I don't want your cooties or whatever, which, is ridiculous, I guess, knowing now what we know then. But I heard that actually the Statue of Liberty was a functioning lighthouse as well for like 16 or 18 years.
Until what? Originally it had like a bunch of like the torch originally was a bunch of glass, right?
Yeah.
With lights inside, and then it got something around like what it has something to do with the Germans.
Yeah, it does. So there was a munitions plant there at Black Tom Island.
Okay.
And the British were over there getting all their ammo from Black Tom Island. Tons and tons of ammo, actually, just like a shit ton of ammo. And it's thought that these Germans went over there and sabotaged it. But basically, in 1916, the Great War, which later became known as World War I, it had been going on for 2 years, and the United States officially maintained a neutral position. But that didn't stop the country from being a major munitions supplier for Great Britain and France, both of whom were enemies of Imperial Germany. And during the early morning hours of July 30th, 1916, undercover agents acting on behalf of Imperial Germany, allegedly, started a fire on Black Tom Island, which ignited over 2 million pounds of ammunition and 100,000 pounds of TNT stored at a major munitions depot right there. And the sabotage of the U.S. munitions depot on Black Tom Island resulted in one of the largest artificial non-nuclear explosions to have ever occurred in the known history, like ever. And so projectile debris from the explosion traveled long distances, and some of which damaged the nearby Statue of Liberty. It damaged the skirt and torch of the Statue of Liberty, which was like $2.5 million worth of damage in today's dollars. So it's substantial damage.
Yeah.
But this prompted the officials to close off the access to the torch, which, by the way, the access to the torch was just a ladder that went up the arm, like this straight up ladder.
Yeah.
So it's not like, I don't know if they would still let tourists go up and down that today, but
maybe.
And it's still not lifted today. Still can't do it. But the Black Tom explosion is considered a key event in history that changed public opinion against Germany, and it resulted in the U.S. officially entering World War I 9 months later on April 6, 1917. It also led to the creation of domestic intelligence agencies like the CIA and influenced future U.S. responses to military conflict, because they didn't have anybody to go like check out what happened.
Yeah.
Like this thing exploded, and they're like, why don't we have anybody out there? Why don't we have a group of people that can go out there and
investigate?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it created that. And then FDR cited the Black Tom incident for interning Japanese Americans after the attack on Pearl Harbor. And then, there's all these different, and that's basically like, I don't know that it's 100% been proven that that's who did it. The Germans did it, but that's what everybody thinks.
That's the working theory,
right? But the International Secret Service (ISS) blames mosquitoes for it happening.
Really?
Which is one of the far-fetched ideas.
Wild.
I don't know the whole story behind it, but then Lehigh Valley Railroad actually sued Germany and they won. And I started to read the court case. I read part of it. I didn't get through the whole thing, but
I'm sure it was riveting.
Oh yeah, I mean the foreword, the intro essentially to it was talking all about like how this is a total scam and this isn't true. It was, I don't know. The Germans tried to say that it definitely didn't happen, but in Lehigh Valley Railroad, U.S. Versus Germany, essentially was awarded $50 million in 1939, and we know who was in control of Germany in 1939, the Nazi Party, and they refused to pay. Shocking,
of course,
right? Shocker.
Right.
But they finally did pay after they did the Walk of Shame and everything else, and the Nuremberg trials and everything. Which I don't know. I just heard that the final person that participated in the Nuremberg trials just passed.
103, I think he was. I think I saw that.
Yeah. So you can.
One of the original lawyers. Was it one of the original prosecutors or something like that?
I think so.
Or, judges maybe, or I don't know.
Yeah, one of the last guys. I don't recall, but the Germans did pay in 1953 $95 million to make it right.
$95 million of inflated money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was some serious inflation going on after the war because war bonds, right? Like, and if you look at the percentages of taxes that different wealth groups in the United States have paid over history, you look at like the uber rich, like those super rich, they kind of shouldered a lot of this burden as far as the debt back then. And obviously today they're shouldering less and less of that burden, but back in the day, they ended up ponying up, they ended up holding their feet to the fire and making them pay. But that's the story of Black Tom Island.
Yeah. So
and the lighthouse and the torch, right?
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing about the lighthouse piece of it, it was a very difficult problem to figure out how to light it successfully and keep it lit. They had these, back then newly invented electric lights that they thought was probably the best way to go about it. Results really weren't that good.
Thomas Edison's didn't work out, huh?
Yeah. And the upper half of the statue's like in total darkness. It just didn't work out. I mean, it's really tall, so probably some weak issues with the actual cables and the electrical conduit that runs up there.
They should have just fed it straight through the body of Lady Liberty. It's made of copper, right? Like,
well, they
did solve.
They did solve the problem over time. Like they did some experiments, they figured it out, but eventually it became too expensive to run and maintain it as a lighthouse.
Okay.
So the War Department took over in 1901 and held on to it until 1933, and they just stopped using it as a lighthouse. And that's, I think, I don't know if that's when they did it. I think it was in like 1980 when it like was beyond repair, and I think that they kind of redid it as a copper, like real thin copper sheeting that goes over it, and the sun kind of reflects off it during the day now. And they have like 16 lights that go around the ring of the torch that display off of the copper sheeting. In
1984, the statue's original torch was replaced by a new copper torch, which they covered in 24 karat gold leaf, actually. So
is that what it's
24 karat gold leaf?
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, it does. You can see it in the distance, and during on a nice sunny day, the sun does reflect off of it, and
because the copper actually would degrade over time, and the actual statue itself, it was about 2 pennies thick. Yeah. Right. Like
I did read that
part Eiffel built with like these 4 pillars, these 4 steel pillars that actually allowed the whole statue to sway back and forth when there's like 50 miles per hour wind. Like the thing will sway back and forth 3 inches,
a tree,
which was like really high tech stuff back then,
Yeah.
right? Like in the
Heck
in the late 1800s, right? So, and then on top of that, this 2 penny thick copper sheeting, right, that they put over it. And I forgot how many years, but it was like 20 years or something that it was actually copper, and it had a copper look to it. But that green, as we all know, that iconic green look that Lady Liberty has, they thought about like, well, should we clean it up and get it back to its copper look? But no, that would only weaken the structure. So it's actually it's even stronger now than it ever was, right? Because of that
Oxidation,
green
of the copper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oxidation.
It's called verdigris.
Verdigris?
Yeah, that's what the oxidation of copper is called. Verdigris.
All right,
If
verdigris.
I'm pronouncing that properly.
Sounds Greek.
It could be verdigris.
Verdigris?
Verdigris.
Depends what part of the country you're from, I suppose, right?
Yeah, but the Army Corps of Engineers had considered a paint job until they determined it was going to cause structural damage, so they bailed on that idea. Oh.
Are you listening? Damn.
All right, dudes and dudettes, that's a wrap for this inaugural edition of Namesakes and Monuments, our new series. For DTF, this is Jeremy at Dudes Talking Freedom.
And this is Luke.
And we'll see you next time.